And we're live. We've got LinkedIn on as well because I'm doing Facebook and YouTube this time as well. First time doing that. Just want to make sure LinkedIn is showing up. What's up? Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. We're going live. I'm just checking on my phone to see if the LinkedIn people are with us. Looks like it. Jeez, I always grabs a weird thumbnail of me at the start. Live. Okay, I'm in the chat room. What's up? Let me know. 23 people. Okay, cool. We're working. All right. I want to keep an eye on this. I'll turn it down a bit. We're talking about how to use LinkedIn to fill your events today. How I got an interview with Grant Cardone. The one thing that will turn your results around in life. And how to rank #1 on Google pretty much overnight. Okay, we've got some peeps on LinkedIn. Angie's with us. We've got Tim. Chill, my man. Tim Taylor. Thanks, mate. Thanks for the feedback. So a lot of people have asked me about events, right? And how to fill them on LinkedIn. We've always had quite a lot of success with that. I think it was 4 years ago when the Entrepreneur Club in Melbourne had me as a guest, and they were going to interview me, and they had 100 people booked in a few days before the event, and they said, I actually asked the organizer, Dom, I said, how many can the venue hold? He said 300. We may move it to a smaller venue because there's only 100 people coming. And I said, well, let me see what I can do on LinkedIn. And we arranged for the team to send out about 1,000 messages to people in Melbourne to invite them along to the event. And there was pizza, I think there was some beers and stuff. And we got 313 people or something like that showed up. So it was a full house. And I said, you know, who's here because they got personally invited by me on LinkedIn, and over half the room put their hand up. That was obviously scheduled by the team. Oh, we've got Dean Nicholas, my uncle's on the call. Hi, Dean. Cool to see some family members joining us. So look, yeah, filled the room, 313 people. Pretty impressed with the outcome. Obviously, they all received personalized messages. I did get some help from my team to deliver those messages, but they're all my first connections, and they got a personal invite from me, and they came along. Now, if you're charging for an event, like if it's a paid event, you can offer something like a promo code. So if you contact someone privately and you give them some value, like a promo code, for example, the chances are they'll feel quite special, and they're likely to come along to the event. I mean, the conversion rate's never going to be as good as free, but remember, when you get people registering when it's free, they don't all show up. All right, let's see who else we got here. Colin James, how you doing, mate? Pavlina, Amanda Kelly. Oh, it's the jet lag guy, back again for more. Awesome. It's a bit weird watching it in delay on my phone. So, Grant Cardone, right? If you don't know who Grant Cardone he's the #1 sales coach in the world, or I should say self-proclaimed, but I'm impressed with Grant. He's, he rolls around in a private jet, and when he does events, he gets a stadium with 30,000 people together. And I think the minimum price for a ticket is $1,000 or something. Pretty cool dude. And he's on YouTube and Instagram. He's pretty big on all the platforms, more active on LinkedIn now. And his wife, Elena Cardone, a couple of years ago, got into the spotlight and started motivating female entrepreneurs. And so Michael Lane, who's the CEO of Success Resources, posted on LinkedIn, and he said, Grant Cardone's coming down to Australia. We've got a handful of podcast interviews that he's going to do while he's here. Submit your applications at this address. And so I'm there, I'm like, okay, we'll submit LinkedIn Heroes, let's see if Grant is up for it. And I was pretty determined. And so I literally waited for a few days, no reply. So I followed up, Michael, no reply. Michael said, look, we're going to get back to you closer to the time. I wanted some certainty around it, because I had to book flights and stuff like that. And I thought, Elena Cardone's only just started posting. I wonder what she's doing while he's doing all these interviews. So I thought, I'll send Elena Cardone a message via Instagram. Because Instagram's normally what celebrities have in their pocket. They normally have somebody else managing the other social platforms. That's what I found anyway. So I said, Elena, I'd love to interview you while you're in town. Her assistant emailed me and said, Elena, I'd love to do the interview. Are you available this date, this time? And I said, look, I'm not in Sydney then. I'm in Perth. However, if you can get me an interview with Grant at the same time, I'll fly to Sydney. That's what happened. There was a bit of a last minute scheduling thing where I was like, just got back from Sydney. He told me the interview's tomorrow. Got to the airport. My flight had been cancelled. Anyway, cut a long story short, I had to go via Adelaide, 5 minutes, details. But anyway, I got the interview with Grant Cardone. It was a lot of work, a lot of moving parts. Most people would have given up a long time before I did. And that's how it was done. So, yeah, I know a few people interviewed him in Australia. I was very fortunate that I was one of them, but I did have to think outside the box. And the one thing that will turn your results around in life, you're probably all wondering what, a few people have asked me, said, what's the one thing, right? Well, it's very simple, really. I think we all have a set of beliefs and a set of standards. And the secret is to being successful at anything is to raise those standards. So if you smoke cigarettes, for example, and you think you should stop smoking, what if you must stop smoking? What if you should go to the gym? What if you must go to the gym? What if you raise your standards that is all you will tolerate? Think about your relationships, for example. Like, are you in a relationship where like the only thing that's absolutely compulsory is that there's no like abuse or it's safe? You know, and you tolerate like no passion and a bit of fighting and all that kind of stuff. If you raise your standards and your beliefs about yourself, I truly believe that your life is a reflection of your standards and your beliefs. So if there's one thing that you learned this year that you could take away from you and it's raise your standards, I think it has a pretty good outcome. It really transforms everything. And a good way to raise your standards, if you're probably wondering how you do it, is by being careful about who you spend your time with, who you surround yourself with. Because if you hang around with eagles, you're going to soar. And if you hang around with chickens, you're going to cluck. Proximity is power, my friends. So look around your circle. Who do you spend most of your time with? Look at the 10 people that you spend most of your time with. Are they positive or negative? Are they adding energy to your life? Or are they sucking energy from your life? Are they adding value to your life? Are they the type of people that go out and get what they want? Or are they the type of the people that are victims and complain about what they don't get? Because sooner or later, they're going to affect you. I truly believe that who you spend your time with is who you become. And it becomes complicated because not all of us can choose who we work with or who's in our family. But you just have to stand on guard. We are each the guardian of our own mindset, and you have to mind it carefully. And so sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations, or at least take a step back from the relationship so you can make room for more positive relationships in your life. And it doesn't have to be face-to-face. It could be listening to a podcast, the Nathanial Bibby podcast, or the Tony Robbins podcast, or the Gary V audio experience. Spending an hour a day while you're doing your exercise, listening to that stuff will add value to your life, especially if you're interested in business and stuff like that, personal development. That's my big hack, guys. What's the fourth thing on my list here? Let's have a look. Google, how to rank number 1 on Google. Now, who else we got on LinkedIn? Vanessa McCarthy. Can I turn those people around? Paul Harrison. You can't control it, mate. You can't control it. The best thing you can do is to say, look, check out this podcast or check out this event. But even then, I mean, I went to Tony Robbins, and the second year I went back, I brought back 15 people with me, family members and friends. And like it impacted them for a while, but you can't control the outcome. Look, like at the end of the day, you can't, Eagles versus chickens, Shield. That's correct, mate. Was it worth it? Yes, it was worth it for sure. Interviewing Grant Cardone, I learned more in that 15 minutes with Grant Cardone than I have doing like 2-day workshops. Because, like, to be honest with you, a lot of these interviews, I'm a little bit selfish. I ask what I want to ask, and he gave me some really good advice. It's all there in the video. I said to him, "You should be one of my LinkedIn clients, Grant." And he said, "I'm in." We followed it up, and you know, we may be working together. I'm not sure if there's a good fit with Cardone Capital yet in Australia yet, but we'll work that out. Torsif, you're an Eagles fan, mate. Look, well, I am an Eagles fan, but that's got nothing to do with this. So, like Eagles, right? They put their nests high. They don't get hunted. They hunt. They've always got a higher perspective. Whereas like turkeys, they like follow the herd. If there's a storm, they like all cluck together and they go under, cover. Whereas the Eagles are more independent and they sort of go after what they want. Sometimes they don't run with a pack. They're independent, you know. Those are the kind of people that I reckon you got to spend your time with. Personally, I changed my life a lot. Okay, so let's talk about how to rank number 1 on Google. So first of all, if anyone ever tells you that you're going to rank number 1 on Google, you need to know what keywords they're talking about. If you want to, this is what I think you should do. Search for your name on Google, see what shows up. You should control the search results, right? And most of the time when you search for your own name, a social media profile will be showing up at the top. LinkedIn is actually showing up at the top quite often these days. You probably prefer LinkedIn to be doing it than Facebook, because if people are searching for you in a professional capacity, you want to control what they see. And most people make the mistake of making their LinkedIn profile like their CV. And if they're in sales or they're a business owner and a prospect comes through, I don't know about you, but I've never bought anything because of somebody's handing me their CV. So it needs to be in customer-centric language. To get your LinkedIn profile to number 1 on Google for your name, you want to customize the LinkedIn URL. So the bit that says linkedin.com/in/ you'll notice there's either a bunch of letters and numbers which really have no sequence, or you've customized it already and you can put your name in there, first and last name. Because when Google determines what's going to rank number 1 for that search phrase, it's going to look at things like the URL and it will see your name there under the profile, and it'll rank it towards the top of the search results, because LinkedIn's got a lot of clout with Google. Now, if you want to rank number 1 on Google for search phrases, some people on LinkedIn, they do use search phrases in their LinkedIn URL. I'd advise against this, because there will still be people searching for your name, and normally they're further down the customer journey. Google My Business, like the places thing, that gets people to the top straight away, because what happens is people search by location-specific search phrases. So if you're an accountant in Sydney, and I'm looking for an accountant and I live in Sydney, what will happen is I don't just type in accountant. I type in accountant Sydney. And Google actually knows where you're searching from. And so it's more likely to show you if you target that search phrase, but you also have a Google Maps listing. And if you've ever looked at the Google Maps listing, you'll notice that the ones that are at the top have the most reviews. Doesn't matter if they're good or bad. The one with the most reviews, generally, there's other things that play into it, but generally most reviews are at the top, aren't they? So if you can get a Google My Places listing, use relevant keywords in it that people might be searching for on Google, and you get the most reviews, you'll crush it. Chiropractors, medical practitioners, surgeons, accountants, marketing specialists, keynote speakers, all of you guys, there are people searching for what you do on Google. If you focus on location-specific search phrases and get a Google My Business listing and you get the most reviews, you're going to be ranking towards the top organically. Or you can just run an ad and pay for your click, which will happen immediately. You know, so there's a couple of ways to do it. So we've been on for 13 minutes and 12 seconds, which is pretty good. Some people are constructive. Oh, my mother's on the call. Mum, you are the best. Claire, how are you from the UK? Claire's a friend from Date with Destiny, Tony Robbins. Some people are constructive, other people are destructive either. Yeah, that's true. And look, you know, we can't like get rid of family members altogether if they're negative. Like I understand, trust me. It's just about like being careful with your time. Who you spend time with is who you become, guys. If you hang out with Michael Jordan and like Bill Gates and, you know, Tony Robbins, you can't help but become more successful. It's one of the reasons why I do the LinkedIn Heroes interviews, is because it forces me to spend time with people that are inspiring when I interview them. It's really helpful. Those people that I've interviewed so far, maybe 30 of them, 40 of them, had a huge impact on my career, and they've helped me raise my standards. So guys, if you're doing events, use LinkedIn to direct message your individual connections that you already know and offer them something that they wouldn't get normally. If you're going to give them a discount or a promo code, make sure it's not being offered on the landing page to everyone else so they feel special. If you want to get interviews with celebrities, message them on Instagram and be creative. And don't give up that easy. When I got Kerwin Ray as an interview guest, I looked through all the messages of all the times I've contacted him before he said yes. And I was scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But every time I was thinking of a different way to add value, add more value, and ask intelligently rather than just going, can you help me? Can you help me? It's all about me. It's like, okay, well, now I've got this audience. This is how I could promote you. This is what I could give you. This is what I want to ask you. Building credibility, telling them about the ones I had before, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. We've talked about proximity and we've talked about raising your standards and ranking well on Google. Don't ignore Google Places and Google Business Listing. And when it comes to your name, you want to make sure your LinkedIn profile is optimized effectively. Good night, guys. It's Monday night. It's been real. I'll see you here next week. If you do have any questions you want me to answer next Monday, drop them in the comments with hashtag AskNat. Peace.